Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well, as I always say, staying happy and healthy and hydrated as you should be. Hope you're being nice to yourself and everything. This week I have a pretty cool story, I think it's cool, of an Ojibwe woman who is trying to get her sacred cradle back. So pull up a stump and let's jump into it. Thank you for watching. I don't really have anything paranormal that ever happened to me, but here's an event that stayed with me. And when I say stayed, I mean it's burned in my memory. It's an encounter I had with an Ojibwe woman named Sarah. Let me give a little context first. It's 1989, and Congress passes a new law. The Smithsonian must return many of the items that it has on exhibit, human remains and funerary objects. Anything that is considered sacred by a native tribe must be returned to that tribe. This starts a chain of repatriation of sacred objects. So fast forward to 2017. I work as a kind of like an intermediary between American museums and Native Americans. The typical meeting goes like this. A tribal representative, or a few of them, show up at a museum. I provide them with a list of items on display and in storage. The representative will make a claim on an item or two, and then I have to determine whether that claim is legitimate or not. Did the item serve a religious function at any point in time, and various other questions that I have to ask. If the claim is legitimate, I inform the museum, and then we send the items back with the tribal representatives. It's nothing too complicated, really. But it can get messy. Many times representatives will come in and insist that certain items are sacred even when they may not belong to that tribe or may not have any religious purpose or anything like that. This muddies the legal waters, so case in point, Sarah, who was Ojibwe. I'm expecting her for a meeting one morning, and I've been told that she's been traveling state to state, museum to museum, searching for a very specific object. Before she arrives, I leaf through my inventory sheets, and I see that the museum does have a number of sacred Ojibwe items. This includes a ceremonial pipe and stem that is currently on display, which nowadays in 2021 is a big no-no. So Sarah shows up, and her request surprises me. She's looking for a cradle. I gently inform her that we don't repatriate utilitarian items. There's no moccasins or baskets or cradles or anything like that. We can only legally return sacred items. Sarah tells me that the cradle is sacred. It was carved by an elder for a spiritual purpose. And I think, okay, but even if that's true, the museum is going to fight to keep the cradle, and since they have a team of lawyers, they will probably win in litigation. Cradles aren't used in religious ceremonies. Besides, there's not even a cradle listed in the inventory. But Sarah asks if she can take a look around anyways, so I oblige. I lead her through the museum. We pass by the ceremonial pipe and stem that's on display. Sarah stops and she looks at it, and then at me, and then her face is filled with sadness. This is an Ojibwe pipe, she says. It's considered sacred and should not be on display like this. I tell her that I'm aware of that, and that I've already filed the appropriate paperwork. She can leave with it today if she wishes. She thanks me. I lead her towards the storage room. On the way, she tells me about the cradle. How an Ojibwe elder carved it over 50 years ago. How he made it out of a sacred tree. How when he found the tree, the elder thanked the spirits, and after chopping it down, he left an offering. When he returned to his tribe, he fashioned the cradle out of the wood, and then he presented it to Sarah's grandparents. It was a gift for Sarah's mother, who at the time was only a newborn. I had a dream about the child, the elder tells them. In the dream, the spirits spoke to the elder. They told him to make Sarah's mother a cradle out of the sacred tree. They told him to bless it with a powerful prayer. Then they told him to deliver a message to the family. Your child, Sarah's mother, will be a drum keeper and her child, Sarah, will be a spiritual leader. Drumkeepers are people who look after and maintain ceremonial drums, if you didn't know. And her child, the elder says, will be a powerful medicine man. And even after I am gone, I will be with them, he says. Then the elder prays. He prays over Sarah's grandparents, over Sarah's infant mother, and over the cradle. This is why it's considered sacred, Sarah told me. It belongs with my tribe. It belongs to my child. She places her hand on her stomach. I didn't even notice a baby bump. She must be only a few weeks pregnant, and I'm not really sure how to respond, so I decide to just keep quiet. We arrive at the storage room, and I open the door, and Sarah steps inside. Then she gasps. She says, "It's here." I try to remind her that there's no cradle listed on the inventory sheet, but she's already hurrying through the aisles of boxes and shelves. She stops at a large box labeled junk, and she opens it. Inside there's this beautiful solid wood cradle. Sarah instantly falls to her knees. After a long silence, she begins to quietly sob. I feel incredibly awkward. I was never good at being around people who cry. I tell Sarah that I'll give her some time to look through everything, and then I head back into the museum. And this is where things get a little strange for me. I'm making my way back towards the front desk, and I pass the ceremonial pipe and stem that's on display. The entire thing is encased in plexiglass, I believe. There's no way anybody can touch it, but it's been taken apart. And I don't mean knocked over, I mean it's actually been taken apart. The stem is still on the stand, but the pipe is removed. It's sitting in front of the stand, and it's just laying there. The only way to do this is by hand. The stand is a very snug fit. I talked to the guy at the front desk. To his knowledge, neither the curator nor the museum director even stopped by at all. There's nobody who could have altered the display in any way. I actually go back and look at the pipe display for a while. I'm trying to figure out exactly what happened. And then Sarah approaches. She's no longer crying. She looks excited. She tells me that she'll be back in 1 week to pick up the cradle. I'll remind her again that the cradle is not technically considered sacred. She tells me that she knows this, but she was told to be back in 1 week. Told? By whom? I ask. But she just tells me that she'll be taking the pipe today. And long story short, she leaves with the pipe and stem. Over the next week, I decide to review the museum footage. I'm interested in whether the pipe and stem display simply fell apart, even though it's very unlikely. Due to the angle and the lighting, I couldn't see a whole lot. I just saw the glare on the plexiglass. I did determine, though, that nobody had ever approached the display during the time that Sarah and I had looked at it. I also saw when I returned to the display to see the pipe disassembled. So, 1 week later, Sarah shows up again, but now things have changed. The museum director is being forced to give up the cradle. The inventory mix-up kind of put him in hot water with it being in a box labeled junk and stuff. There's a potential hefty fine and possible legal repercussions too. And he tells me, it's just a cradle. We weren't going to put it on display. It's nothing worth seeing. Just give it to her and let's get rid of it. He literally decides this an hour before Sarah shows up. This is highly unusual, even unethical by some standards. But inwardly, I'm kind of laughing to myself. Part of my job requires being sensitive to Native American customs and values. I'm thinking, this lady actually got her cradle back. So when she arrives, I hand the cradle over to her. It's hard to impress upon people how unusual this is when I tell them about it. An Ojibwe woman with, I don't think, any education, and without putting up a scene or a fight or a legal thing or anything, is managing to leave the museum with a non-sacred item. This literally never happens. And I think, like, is this just luck or whatever? so I can't help but asking her. I say, "You seem so sure that you'd be leaving with this item today. Why?" This woman is soft-spoken and unassuming. Her response kind of surprises me. "You call these things items, and you put them in glass cages." She shakes her head like she's enraged, but they suffer like we do. They have spirits just like the living. And I don't really know what to say because you'd think I would have known this. It feels like when my mom used to lecture me as a kid. But then she touches her belly. Her next words are clear as day in my mind, and to this day, I still remember them. "New life comes into this world, and elders die," she says. "But the spirits stay with us. If you listen, you can hear them too." And then she takes the cradle and walks out the door, and I never see or hear from her ever again. So, what did you think of that story? Do you think that it was real, or do you think that it's all made up? I personally really liked it, and I think it's very possible that it happened, but that's my opinion. I obviously believe in spirits, or else I wouldn't be having this channel, you know what I mean? But no, I definitely think it's possible. So what do you think? Do you also think it's possible, or maybe something else? Do you have your own story of something like this, or just your own story in general? I would be glad to hear it, I have a few that are on the way for a video sometime here. I'm kind of thinking of when would be the best time to put it out. I think I have 4 or 5 people, and if you're one of the people that did send me a story, then just know that it actually will be in a video eventually. I'm at the point now where I have like a little bit of a schedule kind of thing, like, okay, this week I'm doing this story, this week is a compilation, this week I'm doing these stories, this week I'm going to do something new, that kind of thing like that. But just know that your story will get in a video, and, I'm not just going to leave you on red, as they say. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had a good week, or if you didn't, I hope I can make it a little better for you with this story. So until the next time, thank you for pulling up a stump, and thank you for watching as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe as everybody else says. So yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.